I see black. Being just 10 years old, this was how I coped, so I didn't have to think. Thinking caused me so much anxiety, and I couldn't sleep. I couldn't pay attention in school. I had to find ways to train myself to stop thinking. So I thought, black. Just like a turned off TV screen. There was no sadness, no scariness, no story. And that's how my 10-year-old self decided to handle my life. Thinking black helped me avoid so many questions. Questions like, was I the only one who had to have sex with her father? Was this normal, even though I didn't feel like it was? Why did I feel shame? Why was I starting to hate him? I was not supposed to hate my father. He said they knew, that they all knew, and that if I told, I would be considered untrustworthy. When I was 14, my father went to Vietnam for a year. During the year that he was gone, I started to become more rebellious. I experimented with drugs. They helped me escape in other ways besides just thinking black. This was also when I started to consider murder. For years, I considered murder. The only reason I didn't carry that out was the fear of going to jail. Tom, that's his name, by the way, came home from a year in Vietnam, and on the first night home, came into my room in the middle of the night for his last rape. I was 15. I heard him tell my mom how he was afraid to sleep because he feared the enemy. So I used that. It was the first time that I had the courage to tell him that if he ever touched me again, I would cut it off while he was sleeping. He never touched me again. By the time I was 17, I was so filled with hate, and it was beginning to spill into other areas of my life. I had tried so hard to contain that hate just for my father, but it didn't work. I began to see that the injustice that had been done to me, that I was becoming an unjust person. Small offenses would cause me to get really angry. I did this throughout many years until the day I made the connection that I still was doing this even into my adult life. I had issues with control. I saw my abuse as having no control, so I took control to feel safe. That led me to bossiness, and I came across like a know-it-all. I became an obsessive cleaner because I cleaned to avoid him. I focused on symmetry, and symmetry gave me comfort. Reading was an issue that took me years to deal with. Reading had been my punishment, so I taught myself how to forget what I was reading. That inner 10-year-old who was fighting for control would tell herself, I will remember long enough just to answer his questions when he drills me, and then I will forget. I still battle even today, remembering the name of a book or the author that I'm reading. That's one of the things I'm still working on. I began to wonder if the abuser ever thinks about the effects of what they're doing. For them, it's over when it's over. But for the victim, it will affect their life for the rest of their life. The reason I'm sharing my story is to provide hope. For me, I found hope through my faith, and that helped me to forgive. That was the thing that began the change from my past to my present into my future. Forgiving my father didn't release him of any responsibility for the act that he had committed against me. He is accountable for his behavior. But my forgiving him freed me from the bondage of the attachment to his rape against me. Everyone has their own journey, and I would encourage any survivor to find a way to forgive. From my experience and what I've learned over so many years is that in order for me to live a healthy and productive life, I had to connect the dots. I had to notice the triggers and see how they affected me. For me, the issues were reading, cleaning, cooking, a product like Old Spice. All of those things were reminders about my abuse. I had to learn how to come to terms with each and every one of them and see how they didn't have to live forever connected to my story. I don't have to think black anymore. I seldom do. I'm still a pretty compulsive cleaner. But these days, it's just for my own pleasure. I no longer hate reading. I actually like it. I don't see the word read as a terrible verb like rape anymore. I have experienced amazing freedom from all of those triggers that were connected to my rape. All that was missing in my childhood growing up, all that which I yearned for, I was able to have in my family. I was able to have that contentment, that comfort, and that joy. But it is always still a work in progress. I'm a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and friend. I like who I've become, and I am who I am as a result of my story. And that I am completely at peace with.